This is a Blairing Out with Eric Blair show, and tonight we're here at the premiere for the movie Lemmy, a documentary about one of the hardest working men in rock and roll, Lemmy Kilmister of Motorhead. Rollins, Eric Blair, Blairing Out with Eric Blair show. How you doing, buddy?
Okay.
Now tell me about your first experience that you met Lemmy and how that changed your life.
The first time I met Lemmy was, I believe, 1988 at the New Music Seminar in New York. And there was some generic panel of musician types. And it was me and Jelly Bean Benitez, Andy Summers from The Police, Diamanda Galas, and Henry Ballard, the JB's R&B, kind of, I think he wrote Do the Twist. Hank Ballard, and me for some reason. And backstage, I walked back there and I was the only person back there, and in comes Lemmy. I'm like, well, this is cool. And Lemmy, there's some paper on the table, and he picked up a pen and he wrote, "This is boring," and just kind of shoved it at me and I went, okay, hi. And we just kind of started talking. And during the panel, the place is packed, and he was a little inebriated. And someone from the audience asked me some question and went into this kind of long, stupid thing. And he just kind of piped up after like a minute of this, rant, weird thing I kind of got lost on. He just went, "That's a bunch of bull," and everyone applauded. So he was able to kind of cut through the crap with a few words, and somehow we still remained friends. And I see Lemmy now and then over, here and there, and he's always very, very cool to me. I've done shows with him. Had a really interesting airplane flight with him one day, going from like Denmark up to Norway or something, doing the festival circuit, and he told me, I had him tell me Hawkwind stories, so it was cool.
Why do you think it is that, first of all, Lemmy's music has endured the test of time, and here we are at the premiere of the Lemmy movie?
Because he's the real thing. And Lemmy, like Iggy Pop, and there's a handful of those people who are just kind of a gold standard where they're living it, and you can trust it. You might not have every single record of his, there's so many, and there's so many decades of it, from Hawkwind to now, there's a lot of records. I've got a lot of them, not all of them. And he's not kidding around. And so you can kind of depend on him to be on tour somewhere. It was like the Ramones used to be. The world was all right because you knew somewhere the Ramones were probably going to be playing within 72 hours of you thinking of them. And that's kind of how it is with Lemmy and Motorhead. He's kind of one of those kind of perpetual parts of your life. And I've been listening to him since I was a teenager. And the integrity is in. He's one of those real deal guys. You never question it. And he's got amazing stories. He saw the Beatles play the Cavern Club. He used to roadie for Hendrix. He was in Hawkwind. I mean, he's got stories like every day. Yeah.
Now, Rollins, what's up with you? Now, you had that amazing interview show, and I have to give you props. I think you were one of the best interviewers on television.
Oh, thanks.
Now, what's going to happen? Is there a future for more interviews?
I'm interviewing a lot of people these days. I present documentaries on National Geographic. And so in that line of work, we're interviewing people just all over the place. I've also been doing documentary work just on my own. And I just came back. It's the neighborhood. I just came back from Sudan and Uganda, where I did a lot of interview stuff there for 2 documentaries I was working on. But the Nat Geo interviews are, you're not interviewing rock stars really, or actors or whatever. You're interviewing all kinds of people.
But the fact that you're interviewing people that are out there hurting and in pain, I mean, it sounds like you're going to a lot of parts of the world where people are suffering. And that's really getting into the grit of life. How do you must love that.
Well, I travel on my own all over the world. In September of last year, I was in North Korea, that was odd. I was in Bhutan, Mongolia, Vietnam, Tibet, Nepal, China. And like I said, I just came back from 3 weeks in southern Sudan and northern Uganda. I go to Africa 1 to 3 times a year, Middle East, Southeast Asia, Central Asia, either on my own or with a NGO group, or sometimes the USO. Or I'll go to Afghanistan or Iraq, or I'll just, like I said, I just go on my own. And I go to these places to learn about what my country looks like outside of America, how it manifests itself, what globalization looks like, what global climate change looks like, what politics looks like, and how people live. In Africa, I've been there, I got like 11 times. Doesn't make me an expert, but I've seen quite a bit. And people are pretty hard put out there.
Rollins, have you heard Keith Morris's new band Off? And if so, what do you think of them?
Yes, I have. And unsurprisingly, it's really, really good. Yeah. He's another one of those guys. Keith is one of those gold standard guys. He was the first singer in Black Flag and also the best singer in Black Flag. And he's one of my heroes. And we've been friends since for 31 years. And I still am kind of geeked when he remembers my name. When I go, hey, Keith, oh, hey, Henry, I'm like, oh, man. Yeah, he's the real deal. Yeah.
So any music in the future of Henry Rollins?
No, only that I'm playing on my radio show. For me, music is that bell that I rang with a great deal of frequency and a great deal of urgency, but I don't know how else to ring it. So I'm not really all that interested in repetition. I'm 50, so I'm looking to do some other stuff, like the documentary stuff and other things. So.
Henry Rollins, thank you for being on the Blairing Out with Eric Blair show. Have a beautiful night.
I will, I always do.
The Blairing Out Show.